As the founders of Surefoot, Bob and Russ Shea are obsessed with creating the perfect ski boot for you because they know that a properly fitted custom ski boot will make you a better skier, whatever level you're at. Surefoot, better fitting, better skiing.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and Freeride fans. You are listening to the Freeride Guide. My name is Mark Warner.
I'm Derek Foose, and we are done the season.
We are done. The FWT 2025 season has concluded. Today is the YETI Xtreme Verbier by Honda recap. There will be another episode where we kind of summarize the whole season. We may even get into some Challenger stuff. The Region 1 Challenger is finished, and the Region 2 Challenger is just about to start in the next couple days out in Whitewater. And as we speak, there is a all-star heavy-hitting crew of skiers in Alaska about to get down for the first ever natural selection ski event, which I think we might have to chat about when that goes down. I think it's gonna be released in April, from what I hear. So I'm excited about that because it's going to be real cool. For those of you listening or watching, the Freeride Guide is available on every podcast app, and you can watch us on YouTube. It's located on the Low Pressure Podcast YouTube channel under the Freeride Guide feed. If you enjoy listening or watching to this show, we would really, really appreciate it if you would hit that subscribe button, follow us, and leave us a review. It definitely helps get us boosted, I guess, in the algorithm. When people scroll past and they see those glowing reviews, it helps us out. So thanks, everybody that have been here all season. For those of you that are just finding us, we're not going anywhere. We love doing this. We're going to keep going. So glad that you're here. Big shout out to our sponsor. This Freeride Guide show wouldn't be possible this year without the support of Surefoot Skiing. Surefoot Skiing custom ski boots. I've got some. I got one of my boots right here. You can see my heated boot liners. I've got a bunch of work done. I was actually going to pull out my liner and show you the liner, but it's a Franken liner. It's got pads, and I might do a little video showing you all the work that I need to get done. But that's what Surefoot does. Custom ski boots, fitting you for custom heated liners, custom orthotics. Ski boots are a long-term investment in your skiing experience, and Surefoot is here to educate your decision. If you got something going on, they're going to give you some advice. So don't just take our word for it. Come and experience what you've been missing. Surefoot has 29 locations across the U.S., Canada, and Europe. You can visit surefoot.com to find the location nearest you and ski the Surefoot difference. Did you go to the Surefoot shop in Verbier?
I popped my head in. Yeah, I mean, we were pretty quick to get the event, so not a lot of free time. But also, my boots are feeling pretty good right now, so. Yeah.
Real nice. They got, I think, one of the coolest stores of all the Surefoot stores.
Yeah.
The one in Verbier, awesome. right near the gondola, and it's right on the corner with the big boot sign. Yeah, it's a good one. Anyways, so one last little piece of information is you can see that I've got a Freeride Guide shirt on, and you may see behind me there's another one. These are available for sale. We told you guys we're getting some merch sorted out. It only took us the entire season. Only took me the entire season. I'm not putting Derek on this at all. It only took me the entire season to get it sorted out. If you'd like to get yourself a Freeride Guide t-shirt, you can go to the link in the YouTube bio or the podcast bio and help us out. Rock the Freeride Guide. And there'll be more coming once I figure out how all of that works. Merchandising and websites and all that sort of thing. We'll have some more things available for you. So you had mentioned that you guys were in a bit of a rush. D-2 at this event. So it's not uncommon in the last few years for an event to happen D-1 or like comp day -1 or weather window. So D-1 basically means the original weatherman window, but moved up a day. Or D2 in this instant moved up 2 days.
Yeah, exactly. And as always, they make these announcements. Everybody panics. People have to change their travel plans, their arrival dates. The tour has to change all of their accommodation plans because they have, Thursday was supposed to be arrival day. Instead, Thursday was comp day. So they don't have accommodation for the riders or anything like that. So it's definitely not something they take lightly, but it is, again, necessary. And again, they kind of nailed it. Basically, the weather that we had on Thursday was good. It was sunny. It was stable. It wasn't windy. And then it got really, really hot in the afternoon and the next day. And then the wind came up and everything got just destroyed. And then it was cloudy every day since then. So it's wild that this season we've run multiple D-1s and then breaking a record with D-2. But once again,
and then you get Georgia where it's like D.
Yeah. Plus
it's like you sit around for a week and a half.
But it was the right call. And, I guess essentially it had to be done. That's what it came down to. It had to be done to run this thing. And it worked. Again, it worked. They keep doing these crazy things and it keeps working out. So, I guess they know what they're doing.
I don't remember an athlete missing a comp because of that, but it's been close. Obviously gear doesn't arrive. We've spoken about this several times. Almost every event, someone doesn't get a bag arrive. But can you remember a time where someone actually missed the competition? I remember it personally. One of the first ones I ever went to was in Fieberbrunn a few years ago, and they did a D-1 or 2, and I watched it in the airport on my way there. So I arrived I arrived just in time for the party. But has an athlete missed?
No, I haven't. I don't recall an athlete missing a comp. But it is like, it sucks for that because people plan their like fans, spectators plan their travel, their accommodation, everything around the weather window. And then when you run 2 days before it starts, and especially in Verbier where there's the entire festival around it. I mean, they didn't even have the stuff in the town set up in time. And for sure, like they did everything they could to get that stuff ready. But a lot of the vendors and the retailers, they were scrambling to try to set the event village up in time to have it be there, actually just even exist on competition day. Because that was supposed to be load-in day, right? You're building everything on that day when the athletes arrive, and then you got 2 days to have it done. And then Saturday, and everybody wants the comp to be on the weekend, so the mountain's packed and everybody's coming up from all over the place to watch it live. But yeah, so there's definitely a lot of things that are less good when they do it, but also running the comp is running the comp. And if that's the only day to do it, then that's what's going to happen. And that's where we were yet again.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell me about the snow conditions. So excuse me, as we know, Europe hasn't had a great season this year, snow wise. We knew about it from Fieberbrunn, and then at the Bec this year, no start from the top. 3 starts on the face, 2 on the Petit Bec, 1 partway down the Bec. Talk about that a little bit, like what you were hearing from the riders, what you're hearing from the crew.
It was thin. It was really, really thin. I mean,
you skied it too afterwards, didn't you?
Yeah, we skied from the top of the Bec, right off the summit, and it was many different kinds of snow and none of them good. I think it was Larry Laurent Gauthier said that after we skied. It was sugar, facets on rocks basically at the top, and then it was breakable crust in the middle, and then it was super hard at the bottom, and then back into breakable crust on the apron. And the riders, now that was a day later, but the riders had the same stuff to deal with, and you could see it watching the event. The riders that went from start 3, that was more on the classic Bec, it was just hard, but consistent. Like they were leaving a track, and it wasn't super punchy. The middle start 2, like your classic Petit Bec start, super weird breakable crust, and even on that chute at the top, that riders were having to air out of. On one side it was crust, and on the other side it was kind of powder, but obviously that got pounded because way more than half the field went through that start 2. And then start 1 was that fluffy, sugary pow on top of nothing, like totally unconsolidated. So we saw a bell over there just get hooked up in the rocks, and
Right.
yeah, so it was hard snow conditions, which I think led to the number of crashes that we saw, and also line selection based on the conditions is so important, like so critical. So the riders that didn't quite nail that, we saw so many people on the same feature, just kaboom, 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 over and over and over. And one of the starters skied down the face, the Petit Bec through start 2 after, and went under that. And they said the bomb holes were like a meter deep, and the snow was super dense. So, and we saw it over and over and over again, all those double backflip attempts, all that stuff, where people were just busting through the crust into the soft snow underneath, and then their feet would just stop. So yeah, the conditions were hard. It was really hard. And there was absolutely no chance from the top. I mean, we skied the dogleg couloir, which is kind of, I guess, the easier way down on a standard year, but right now it's the only way down, and even that barely went through. Like there were a couple chokes where we were just in and on rocks way up high on the back. So no way they could have run a comp up there. No chance.
That's wild. One of the things I'd like to I'll mention to, if I ever talk to someone at the tour, is I didn't know which start was which, because they zoom in on it just the way that they had the camera going. So every once in a while you would say they're starting from start 1 or 2. I'm like, okay, great, this is the one. And that's kind of how I started to kind of get an idea of it, which is really helpful from you guys on the broadcast. But watching, I would have loved kind of a zoomed out point, like zoomed out so we can see where they're dropping on the face, because I don't think we really got the full scope of the face or where they were on the face from that perspective. But it was helpful from you guys being able to, every once in a while you'd point out, hey, they're dropping from this spot or this spot,
right?
Just to be specific for me, oh, this is where that person dropped. Like, you can just see because you're looking at it, but not knowing where each one was a little hard. So yeah, that was another challenging one. And I guess that's kind of the theme of the year this year, is a lot of people had trouble. A lot of people, lots of crashing this year. We had 2 events where almost 50% of the field didn't get through. This one, we didn't have those crazy scores. We had 2 amazing scores for snowboard men. So why don't we just get started there?
Yeah. Exactly. That's where we started the comp. So we can dive into snowboard men, because it was, parts of it were really good.
Absolutely. So in first place, Cody Bramwell absolutely finished off strong. He started off poorly and then flipped the switch, and then had 3 strong events with a 92.67 in first place. Liam Rivera with a 90 in second place. He's the same, came on strong, finished strong. I guess that's really all I got to do. And then Victor with an 89. So score-wise, the strongest category of the day.
Yeah, for sure. And I got to give Cody, just like by far the best run of the day, all categories included.
Yeah,
that was so perfect. Like you said, he's on this rise at the end of the season. First, second, first, like from crash to win. So it's great to see Cody, because he is one of the best riders out there, and for him to have that confidence, he gets super hard on himself when it's not going well. So for him to be going in with confidence and then to do that run, I mean,
dude, that was the wildest thing. Like, going back and watching. So everybody listening, as you know, if you're a longtime listener of the show, you can go to the freerideworldtour.com website, and you can go to the replay, and you can zero in on it. You can go to the results and actually just click on each athlete's names and it'll go straight to their run. So you can go and like watch along while you're listening to this if you want to get interactive with us. If not, you got to do it later. It's so easy, so quick. You don't have to scroll through the whole thing. So I went back and watched Cody's runs a few times. You called it on the broadcast. If he was a foot to the left or half a foot to the left or a little bit farther or a little bit to the right or didn't nail that landing quite as he did, like, I don't know. I don't even want to think about the consequences. Like,
well, yeah, he falls off 2 big cliffs if he doesn't land that. Like, big.
He had to be so unbelievably precise. The speed he went in there, the amplitude he got from that backflip over mega exposure, and to control his speed and just like snipe that landing. Holy smokes. Like, there's a reason he got a 92 for that. I think he probably would have won if he just hit that and just straight lined out.
Oh yeah, I agree completely. I mean, that run, it was perfect, and it was so consequential. It was so bold to choose to do that, and then to execute it like that, like perfect. It was just incredible. I mean, I Hadley had to talk for a while because I was speechless for a bit. It was just mind blowing, and for sure high risk. But he backed himself to have the skills, have the ability, had the snow was going to work, all of it, and it did. Thank God. Like, that was it was the highlight of the comp by a pretty good margin. And honestly, one of the best things we saw in snowboard men for sure all year, or in multiple years. Just the
consequence of it.
Yeah, doing it over that kind of exposure. And as you said, when he landed, he had to turn immediately. He had a board length to change direction so he doesn't fly off the next cliff, ride down that low angle, angled hanging, I don't even know, pad of snow, and then, drop off the bottom of that. Like, everything about it was just so picture perfect. Well-deserved win. The only bit missing for Cody was if Victor hadn't finished on the podium and Cody won, then Cody's world champ. But Victor does what Victor does. So yeah, you can't take anything away from him. He did a run that he knew was going to get him there. And even like, he just had to get ahead of Enzo, who had a pretty good run. So yeah, I mean, like you said, all 3 scores were some of the highest scores of the day. But Cody and Liam Rivera, for sure, the standouts.
Yeah. I'll get to Victor's run in a minute. That was one of the few where it actually had that suspense into the final, with the reverse running order, which they'd started out last year, and which definitely adds to suspense, adds to the drama. This one really came through. Last year was next level. This year it would have been hard to beat last year's drama, but this snowboard man was close to it. But because he was the last to drop after seeing Michael Mon have a crash, Holden had a problem. He had to sit down. John Powell, an uncharacteristic punch front, which just kind of proves to you the snow conditions we were mentioning before. If that happens to John Powell, there's something going on there.
Yeah, exactly.
So Victor knew he just had to go and put in like a run. Before we get to that, Liam in second place. Great run, and right at home too. He lives in Verbier. This is like home for him. The big Hollywood cliff, big backy off his third air, fast fall line. Fantastic. Same thing. Like, he's done 2 solid runs this year.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's the same as Cody. He went crash, second, first, second, right? Like, his back half of the season, he was peaking at the right time, really bringing it up. And that's the cool thing about 6 comps, is it gives you a bit of room. It's not like in the old days where sometimes we had 3 before the cut. Essentially, you fall once, you're in danger. You fall twice, you're out. So having the ability to put down a season is awesome, and seeing seeing Liam and Cody do that was to me was really like proof in the pudding for the series structure. You know, adding an event and giving them a little bit more time and moving the cut after Fever Moon instead of before as well, and not having just one final 60% get through. It's just, I think in almost every way it's better. And Liam, like any other day, that's a winning run, you know, on the back. But Cody just had the magic dust. And Liam was super happy. He wasn't bummed at all. Like, I think him and Cody have been feeling like they're doing this together, this come up, you know, this like underdog, real bad start of the season, and then launching into peaking at the right time. So for him to be second and Cody to be first, and then put that pressure on Victor at the end, all of that was good. That was what we were kind of hoping for. And for the first category of the day, it definitely set the tone for the day.
Yeah, absolutely. And then Victor, last to drop, he knew what was at stake. And I think based on what his run was, he knew that. Because he features slow, in control, and he just fit in features. A 180 into a double, to a 360, to another 360. I think he was just trying to maybe lean a little bit more into tricks that'll boost his points versus his regular kind of flow. If that makes sense.
And Victor's a smart guy. He did the math. He knew he didn't need to win today, so he didn't need to risk. And he just needed to finish on the podium. And with pretty much everybody below Enzo crashing, he needed to run, you know, like an okay run, essentially. For a Victor okay run. He is nothing if not strategic. You know, he looks deeper. He looks more. He looks from more angles. Every bit of his preparation is just more in depth than pretty much anybody else in that field. Like, as an example, on the day after, when we went up on the Bec to the summit, Victor was up there and we rode the dog leg, and he just did like 7 traverses back and forth across the entire Bec, looking at takeoffs, looking at landings, fiddling around, going over here, because it's not a place you get to go that often. So any time on that mountain is super valuable study time. So everybody else is like, yeah, season's over. And Victor's like, I'm already thinking about next year or the year after or whenever. So that strategy play from Victor doesn't surprise me at all. And it earned him a 4th world title. He's now equal with Marian Erti for the most titles ever. He's got more than his big brother. So it was a big day for Victor, and he did what he needed to do. He didn't have to do more than that. And yeah, I mean, sometimes you got to look at the bigger picture, and I think that's what he was doing. And don't take anything away from his run, like dropping in switch from the top, half cab at the very top of the Petit Bec, spinning both ways, like front side, back side. He was one of very few people that made that bottom dream crusher cliff work. So yeah, a lot of smart riding, still super high level riding, good enough for 3rd on the Bec is pretty solid. And yeah, he's world champ again.
Yeah, again. You know what I loved? One of my favorite things is that he had his kid with him.
Yeah.
He had his little guy on the podium. Maybe he just didn't want to get sprayed by champagne. Maybe he's getting tired of it, so he just brought the kid up so they would like leave him alone. But I love to see that. You know, that's something you see in a lot of major league sports where you know, older athletes, you know, it's a sport that you can do for 10, 12 years. You know, the only real people that we get doing that are like the Raina Barkerids. Like, there's a very select few that can turn the Freeride World Tour or decide to turn the Freeride World Tour into, or are able also to turn that into,
that part for sure.
Right. Making all those cuts, making it back every year, right? The Raina Barkerids, the Christopher Turdells, Drew Tabkeys, you know, like those kind of people that it doesn't happen often. So in order to get to that level, you're going to grow in age, you're going to start having a family, that sort of thing. So being able to see that, I thought was really, really neat.
Yeah. I like it.
Really, really cool. So that was snowboard men. Moving on to ski men. I wonder, I'm going to ask you this question. Did you tear up? Did you Did you get a little misty? Did you have a little trouble?
It was close. It was about as close as I get.
I can hear it in your voice, for certain riders and certain people, just because I know you. So everybody wondering what I'm talking about. YETI and Ho. We'll get into the top three first. YETI and Ho, Whistler Freeride Club's very own, a kid that you coached in Whistler for many, many years, takes the top spot. Ross Tester, who's an awesome dude, been on the tour for many years, who you're a big fan of, in second spot. And then Toby Rafford, rookie Toby Rafford, in third. But back to what I was mentioning is YETI and Ho and Marcus Gogan. Marcus takes the overall championship, a Whistler Freeride Club alum, one of your kids that you coached for many, many years. They're best friends. You've watched them grow up together. That must have been a proud papa moment for you, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, getting to be there and I mean, see it, let alone call it, was so incredible, and for so many reasons. Myself and all the other Whistler Freeride Club coaches, like, those kids grew up with us, as did many others. But they're on the tour, and then for YETI, it was even deeper, because he's had a real struggle putting down runs at his potential on the tour. Two times
he did fine in the challengers. He does fine in the qualifiers, and you can see him do what he does, but he hadn't quite had that breakout moment on the tour yet.
Yeah, and even, like, more specifically, he had moments. He had 2 runs where he crashed at the end of his runs, where if he had landed that final feature, he would have won the comp. So everybody knows the level is there, but finishing runs on the tour, they say, like, to finish first, you must first finish. That he just hadn't quite unlocked whatever it was, and he didn't have the pressure of the cut anymore. I think I said that in the show. Like, he's in for next year. He made it. So he was able to kind of free his shoulders up and loosen everything up and just ski how he skis. And he won well. It wasn't a day where, well, I mean, who's to say, with so many crashes, maybe Martin Bender, if he had done that giant, 50-foot 360 and landed the cork 7 where he exploded at the bottom. But again, you got to finish to even be in play for a win in these events. So yeah, it was just so impressive for YETI to, like, for everyone to finally see the real potential of this guy, and then to deliver it on the day where, like you said, his best friend just needed to finish anywhere in the top 4 or have Vale and Ben not win. So yeah, and then Marcus wins the title, YETI wins the Bec. That's 2 in a row. Marcus won on the Bec last year, so 2 in a row for the Whistler boys winning in Verbier, which is obviously the one you want to win more than anything.
And they're like brothers, so maybe a little sibling rivalry. Like, I got one now too.
Yeah, and Marcus with some really good banter was like, "Oh yeah, you won, but I won from the top last year." So they're like brothers is just the perfect description. They're just shooting the shit with each other and constantly, but also supporting each other all season long. Having your best buddy to travel with all winter long is so clutch for those kids. Yeah, what a day. I mean,
big W with the big W. You gotta love it. So YETI. So this is an interesting category. So back to where I was talking about is a lot of crashing. This season has kind of been the theme. A lot of runs that haven't been put down. World champions that couldn't quite get a run down. So YETI was the 4th rider to drop. Oscar Mandan started it off, attempted a double backflip, bounced on there was 4 double backflips attempted in this event, and then 2 cork 7s. But unless he can put one down, so Oscar tried a double backflip, bounced on the landing. Christopher Turdell, ski came off again. That's 2 this year. That's crazy to me. I'd be having a chat with his ski tech or his mount, or maybe he shouldn't mount his own skis. I don't know. And then Carl, right after him, 360 to punch front, no score. So Wei Tian was the first like proper decent full run in, and it only got a 84.33, which I was like, wow, that's low. Like,
yeah, me too, man.
Yeah,
me too.
Yeah, like I said, I can hear certain things in your voice, knowing you for a long time. I know you were like, it must be so hard for you to bite your tongue sometimes because you're a fan. You're doing your job, and you got to be neutral, and you got to be objective about these things. But like, it must be tough. I like the chat was going crazy. I was like, oh, come on. Like, I do understand that the rest of the field still has to go, and you have to have that like marker or that base
the margin.
point,
Yep.
the margin. But still, like an 84.33 for that, I think was mega low.
Yeah, I agree. And I did talk to the judges after, and they said exactly what you said. They were like, listen, this is one of the heaviest hitting fields ever. We wanted to leave a little bit of space. He did have a couple of wobbles, like not real issues, but it wasn't picture perfect. And what you don't have as a judge in that moment is the bigger picture perspective after of how hard it was to ski in that weird snow. So those little like, ski kicks out here, not a backslap, but like definitely a bit of a sit down on that huge
Butt
360.
Yeah.
In retrospect, watching other people do that and fully backslap or crash or lose their pole or plus all the other things that happen. Yeah, you could have put a higher score on that. And that's definitely one of the lowest scoring ski men wins in a long time.
I will give them credit though, that they were consistent with that number.
Yep.
Based on that margin or that center point. There weren't a lot of runs that landed, to be honest with you. Like there weren't. But I will give them credit that well, either A, maybe they got lucky because the rest of the field really didn't do very well. Once again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 no scores out of a field of 13. So almost half again. Well, close to half again. Well, Timo had a 20 score, Virgil had a 49, Oscar had a 55. Like that's probably the lowest scoring men's event ever, or in recent memory, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So either the judges, they just have to go with what they're working with. So maybe they got a little bit lucky because everybody else was crashing out, or maybe they knew something that we didn't. But it worked out for Wei. He sat there in the hot seat the whole time. I was upset because I thought he had a great run, and I'm like, oh, he's gonna get bumped off. Just this what you expect from this roster of weapons on skis.
Yeah.
So, it's turned out how it turned out. So that was kind of interesting. Moving on to Ross Tester in second place. Well, actually, Wei Tian, I want to talk about that. Those 360s that he does, those huge 360. I always think of Sean Pettit when I see those.
Yep, it's a really similar style, similar style, and Ben has it too, where there's no pop.
They just kind of look over the edge and then
and just glide the skis into it, and it's so nice looking. It just is so stylish, so beautiful to watch because it's just smooth. It looks effortless. I mean, we all know that's like the opposite of easy to do what they're doing. If you can make something really, really hard look super easy, that's mastery, right? That is a mastery of your craft. So yeah, I mean, I love it. And that one put a lot of time into that line. And let's get into Ross, because the comparison there, I think, gives a clearer picture of how good Wei Tian's run was, because Ross hit the same top air. He did a 360, not top air, but after the closeout. And he did a 360 where Wei Tian did a backflip and was unable to do anything but straight line.
Yeah. Wei Tian was able to get over to that second feature where Ross wasn't able to do that. Right. A couple
Yeah,
people had that trouble.
totally. So and this is where the judges don't have that beforehand, right? Because Ross hasn't skied yet when you give Wei Tian the score. But the more people that skied and were not able to make a turn like that, the better Wei Tian's run looked, because he was actually able to land that huge thing, bounce out of it. And sure, he had the benefit of going a little bit earlier, but Ross didn't land in Wei Tian's bomb hole. He moved it over. And Toby got absolutely ejected out of that landing. Couldn't get his pole back into his hand. But we're getting ahead of ourselves there. But it really showed the excellence of Wei Tian's skiing, that he was able to make that turn after that nobody else could make. And that's something, again, going back to the conversation before, that the judges don't know until everybody else has skied. And yeah, so all right, we get an 84 as a winning run, but you know what? A win's a win. So like, good enough. But yeah, Ross couldn't make another turn, and give him full credit for understanding that and not trying anyway, because people in other categories and even guys in that category, Toby tried to make a turn and couldn't, and ended up getting all tangled up and had to basically stop and slide backwards down that thing and to get off it. So he just pointed it and was like, well, straight lining the Bec it is.
Yeah.
And it worked out.
Yeah. And then it's funny because it's a 76-67, and basically they're judging that against Wei Tian's run. And as we just explained, there was that difference. I think you actually said the judges are stingy with their numbers, because you could see that from then. That's why I wanted to kind of ask your opinion on it. So Ross, second place.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just have one of those days where I don't know if you talked to him, if he was happy with his run or if he was upset or frustrated, but
he was happy that he got away with it. He was happy that he
perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yep. He was happy because that wasn't what he wanted to do, but it was also in the moment what he had to do. So it certainly wasn't something that he was like, hell yeah, that was exactly my plan, and I'm so proud of that. He was like, well, I stayed on my feet and I made a split-second decision to point it when I knew that was the only thing to do, because if I turned, I would have crashed. And yeah, it worked out with a silver on the Bec, so good enough.
Yeah. And then in third place with a 72.67, Toby Rafford. Did he get Rookie of the Year? Has it been announced yet? I'm sure it's just a formality. Yeah, it is.
He is.
Yeah, Rookie of the Year, Toby Rafford. Same kind of line as Ross, same 360 as Ross, same spot. And then got bucked, and he couldn't keep his poles in his hand. As you were saying, you could see him like struggling to try and get his poles back together. And like I said, it wasn't a spectacular run. Like you said, like you just said, it looks like he got away with it, right? Sometimes just putting you're getting your feet down and getting through that gate or that corral at the bottom finish line. That's all you got to do.
Yeah, and the top was spectacular. He did a 360 in the same spot Ross did, and where Wei Tian did the backflip, and then just didn't have control again, and didn't do what Ross did, which was just let go of the fall line and start skipping features. He still tried to make it, and his tails washed out underneath him, and he ended up going up the thing, up that rock, and then back down it backwards, essentially like buttering down it. So yeah, I mean, a 72 for a podium run in Verbier is that tells you the whole story. That tells you what that day was. And you go through, I mean, Marcus Gauguin came fourth with a full somersault in his run. Ben Richards came fifth with 2 crashes.
Yeah.
And then
but I'll tell you this though, Ben lost zero fluidity on that punch.
Absolutely.
Front. So he had this huge air to punch front, and it looked like it was planned. Like this is part. I would have argued, hey, I meant to do that.
Yeah, that's like a handspring.
I want to build that into the thing, and then the double backflip attempt, and then Marcus, as you mentioned, huge unreal backflip straight to punch front. Skied it out. Like that's just the conditions.
The snow was so weird. It was just so weird. It was hard to know what you were going to get, because different parts of the face had super different things, and they were doing what they could with what they had.
And it's interesting to me. So I know a lot of times riders will, I know Christopher Trudell and Carl do this kind of working together on this. I know Justine, for instance, is aware of what's happening ahead of them, like who's gone, who hasn't landed, what the trouble is, you know, what basically how everyone is reacting to the face, or how the face is reacting to everybody. So Oscar with a 55 with a bounce on the landing. Trudell loses a ski. Carl gets a no score. Timo gets a double backflip attempt, can't figure it out. Abel gets snake bit at the top, has a ski come off. Toby has troubles. Virgil has troubles. So as you're getting down lower, we ended up getting Ben Richards with the double backflip attempt. And then we got Valley with a cork 7, who came up a little bit short. We got Martin Bender sent the 7. Ski blew off on impact. Marcus, the backflip. So you'd think, I don't know, I'm just thinking here, when you have half the field struggling, I don't know, and this is just me. No, I'm not one of these guys. I can't do these things. I'm just thinking about from a strategic point of view. But like 3 of the 4 last guys were doing doubles, or like double spins, double flips. Maybe dial it back a little bit because nobody's landing. So like I said, that's just me and my brain of being like, oh, everybody's crashing. Maybe I dial it back a little bit so I can get my feet down and do it and get a run in. So like Toby with a 72 comes in 3rd place. So I don't know if it's maybe a lot of these riders are still quite young and they just want to go and put down the best run that they can, or B, they don't care. C, maybe they're not thinking about strategy in that kind of a way.
Yeah, I think it's a combination of all 3 of those things. For one, and this is just how it is, everyone wants to win on the back. So they all have such great confidence in their skills that when everyone's crashing, they're like, yeah, but I won't.
The opposite. That's the opposite point of thought that I was bringing up now, right? It's like, oh, everyone's crashing, so maybe I should take it easy. See, I don't. Maybe I don't have the
Well, this
the
is
mentality
it.
of a champion.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, they're like, well, yeah, they're crashing because
they're not as good as me.
They're not as good as me, literally.
Yeah.
And I won't. And that's, I mean, I'm envious of that kind of mental state. You know,
Bravado,
it's pretty. Yeah, it's awesome. And then I'll say for Marcus specifically, with Ben and Valley and Martin all crashing, and like no score for, at least for Valley and Bender, who were the closest ones. Ben had to win to even have a chance, and Ben had fallen and Wei Tian was still in first. It didn't really matter what Marcus did. He was going to be champion. So the top half of his run, it wasn't chill, but it wasn't like the most insane thing you'd ever seen. And when he skied over that wind lip, that was meant to be a 360, like a kind of alley-oop left side 3. He just didn't have the speed for it. And he could have just skied off that cliff and landed and still come like probably second. But he still tosses this monster backflip because that's how he's wired. You know, all of the other stuff, like, and he knew if it was Valley or if it was Bender sitting in that hot seat, it would have been a totally different story, right? And he would have had to either really level up, or he would have had to play the strategy game and say, okay, well, I just need to finish in the top 4 here if they win. But with Wei Tian in the hot seat, he was like, oh, cool, I could do whatever. Just go for the, Kobe.
Yeah. I got one last year. I'll give it to my bro.
Well, he certainly didn't give it away. He would have been very happy to do twice in a row. But yeah, no, I think that all of the things that you said are right and in play somewhat, with the addition of the fact that just because other people have fallen, they don't think like we think. They think, well, I can do it. They can't, but I can.
Apparently, I don't have a champion's mindset. So what's the overall standings for Ski Man?
Yeah, so Marcus takes the title, and well deserved. He was, honestly dominant this year. He had third, first, fourth. Like he was just on top of his game all year long.
Was it? Did he break the streak? The podium checkers or wrecker streak?
No, because he fell.
Oh, he did fall.
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
right.
he had a full somersault. So
yeah, no, that's true. He still almost made the podium.
Yeah, streak lives on. Martin Bender second, and Toby Rafford jumped up over Ben into third overall. So, earning himself that Rookie of the Year. Noemi Aki had Rookie of the Year locked down for women. So there's a women's one and a men's one, irrespective of ski or snowboard. Noemi had that locked down by being champion before we even got to Verbier. So it's pretty hard to beat that. So it came down to Toby and Virgile. And Virgile tried that backflip above the exposure, over rotated, it didn't work, and then just skied off the side of the face. So Toby, being on the podium, Rookie of the Year, great year for the Sun Valley kid. Love his spirit, love his style, love his skiing. He's going to be a threat for many years to come on the tour, as long as he wants to.
As long as he sticks around, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he is one of the best skiers there, and he's got such a great mix of just high energy, super high risk, really exciting, and just so smooth and stylish. It's really fun to watch him ski.
And now he's got a season under his belt. He's got all this experience. He's only going to get better.
Yeah. Yeah.
Something to think about for that peak performance fun bet for next year, I think.
Well, and there's one more little wrench in the gears for next year. We'll have Hitzig back.
Oh, I know. I purposely didn't bring that up because I can't wait till our summary episode for this season and then the projections for next year. As you know, I love a good I love some good competition, a good head-to-head. Like I said, I was hoping Hedvig and Justine would be able to go head-to-head.
Mm-hmm.
I was really fired up about Justine and Astrid, Hitzig and Marcus. Ooh,
yeah,
it's going to be great. But who else is going to jump in and be like, oh, you guys don't have it, I've got it.
Well, that's it. There's people coming from the challengers, and there's all those guys who finished. I mean, let's just look down that list. Ross Tester can do it. Wei Tian can do it. Virgile is just getting better and better. Timo Abel, if he gets on a streak, I mean, all the way down to the last person on the requalified list, Christopher Trudell, 2-time world champion. There's not a single guy in that field that can't win multiple events if they get on a hot streak. So yeah, next year's going to be lightning. Yeah, can't wait already. And we're just like 2 days wrapping up this season.
All right. So that's ski men. Moving on to ski women, another hit or miss, I guess, event. If you're a rider, it's another hit or miss event. In top spot, we have the local Jenna Keller, who has had a meteoric rise into freeride in the last year and a half here. She wins the Verbier Xtreme in her hometown with an 82. So once again, low scores on the podium. Justine in second place with a 77. And then Lena Kohler in third place with a 48.33.
Full crash.
So that tells me that says a lot. It could say the face and the conditions were terrible and unmanageable. It could say line selection and personal choices weren't the right ones this year. It could also say maybe there aren't enough athletes in the final. There's a lot of questions that could be asked and a lot of discussions that could be made for every single one of those points. But, let's just stick with what we know here. So Jenna had a really nice smooth top of her run, smooth top air. She sees smooth through the Geraldine Fashion closeout. I had to on my notes. I had to keep writing closeout because I had to go find out how to spell Fashna.
Oh yeah.
And then Geraldine is a snowboarder, correct?
Yep.
Yeah.
So legendary snowboarder. And she was the one who opened that feature up back in the day. She was maybe one of the last women to win the Bec from the top when it was snowboard only and everybody went from the top and they just didn't care about safety, I guess. um, but yeah, she's there. Her and Steve Klassen are both there, live in Verbier, and such great resources for the riders. You know, these older, more experienced people that have just so much time on that mountain. You know, when you've got a feature on the Bec de Ross named after you, you're doing something right or have done something right. And
Yeah.
Jenna was smart. So, you know, to your point, like first, yes, it was the conditions. After snowboard men and ski men, especially that start two, was thrashed. So thrashed. And second, it was choices. Because you go down that list of no scores, and Lily Bradley did that huge backflip attempt up above the exposure, same place that that Virgil crashed. And Molly Armanino hit that humongous cliff that Lily was coming to if the backflip had worked. And it was dead flat and rock hard and huge. So that was a choice that if Molly had skied somewhere else, Molly could have won. But that, you know, Molly wanted to do what Molly wanted to do. And after the fact, and I don't know if you saw her Instagram post, but she said straight up, like, I should have asked more questions. I should have dug deeper into that. Just as an example, when Wei Tian and I were talking line, he was considering hitting that. And he went and looked at it from a bunch of different angles and came back and was like, no, it doesn't go. So, you know, for Molly to go and still do that, like it didn't work at all. And she hit the ground so hard.
And bounced.
Yeah. But you can't take anything away from what Jenna did. Jenna won on the Bec on a day that was really hard to ski the Bec. Like really,
she was better than the rest.
Hard.
She did better than every other person. That's you know, exactly what you said. You can't take away from it because she still won.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
She did better than everyone on the day, which was great. And it was in her hometown. Like she's at home and she wins like she's a legend now.
Totally. Yeah.
In the same vein as like Elizabeth Gerritsen and like Sybille Blanchon.
Yeah.
You know, like winning the Bec in Verbier, like you're going to be a superhero. You're not paying for drinks for a while.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. You're a rock star.
Yeah. Just go to every restaurant in town. Hey, look who's here.
So Justine second. There was some drama there with Jenna on top. If Justine didn't finish in the top three, Jenna takes the title. And you could see her on the show on the phone. She's on the phone with Stefan Heusel, her coach. And the straight up, like, all you got to do is get down on your feet. Lena's in second right now with a 40-point run. Just don't fall. And I had my heart in my throat watching her ski into that last feature that had just destroyed so many good runs in all the other categories, thinking that she was going to just lob a huge backflip, you know, just for the people. And she didn't. Just, you know, slowed down, took it to the transition that actually existed, unlike what a lot of other people did who just like nuked off that thing and crashed.
So there's the counter to what what we were just talking about with the ski men and their mindset, right? You know, here's someone who is an Olympic champ, has 2 Olympic medals in 2 different Olympics. She's an FWT champion as well. The first year she didn't actually get to ski the Bec because that was the year that the avalanche came down and they had to cancel that event. But she is a seasoned veteran of competition. So she has maybe a different, remember I said I don't have the mindset of a champion. Well, she does, but she chose a different option as well, where she could have hucked that big backflip. She just decided the smarter route, being like, hey, this is what's going to get me there. So I'm going to do that.
Yeah, but the counter to that is Marcus, for example, had Wei Tian in the hot seat, not a title contender. Justine had Jenna in the hot seat, who very much was a title contender. So Marcus didn't have to tone down because he was good. He just, whatever happened, he was winning. Where Justine needed to be in the top 3 to take that title. So yeah, like she had to be strategic, where on the men's side that it never came into play. More so for Victor for sure than Marcus. Yeah. Justine did exactly what she needed to do. And even with that run, which, to be totally honest, for the field was mellow, but it was second and it won her the title. So yeah, totally strategic, smart, veteran, like comp savvy, and did the right thing at the right time, and walks away with her second World Tour title. And this one, to her, has a bit more meaning because she locked it down in Verbier instead of having Verbier canceled and just, well, all right, well, you're in first before this event, so you win. She got to compete, stand on the podium, and win a title that way. So for her, she was feeling like extremely special, or that was extremely special, because she still has this little, or I guess had this little bit of imposter syndrome in this space, the freeride space, because she came in from moguls. She doesn't even live in the mountains. She's the only one on the tour who doesn't live in the mountains. She lives in Montreal. But for her to do the whole season, to have a good hard battle with Astrid and come out on top, she's like, maybe I do belong here. So, which is cool, because if she's feeling that way, that kind of confidence, then, next year is just going to be even more exciting.
Absolutely. Third place, Lena with a 48.33. Off the top rope at the Geraldine Fashion Cliff, couldn't keep control. She looked like she was in a bit of pain skiing out. Is she all right?
Yeah, sore leg. She should have done what Ross did. She should have just pointed it, and she tried to make a turn that she was going too fast to make. There's too much pressure build up too quickly, and she couldn't manage it. She's okay. Like she's sore but not injured, and she's also first year on the tour. Sometimes you have to learn these things that way, and like, I guess, to be honest, she learned it. It was a tough lesson, but it wasn't that hard of a beatdown because she still came third.
Yeah, and that just goes to what we were saying with some days are just tougher than others. One I do need to bring up, we were talking about Justine, and she had this battle with Astrid the whole season, and it came down to today. And I can't imagine a more heartbreaking series of event for Astrid. Right at the top, just hit a snow shark, ski snaps off. She didn't even get to start her run. And you could see that reflected in her emotions in the finish. Some tears, some real heavy sadness. And for me too, I felt for her. I was bummed. Like, I wanted to see her go head to head with Justine, and that changed the day, right? Like, Justine saw Astrid. She was right behind her.
Yeah, she was right there.
Yeah, she's, so you could see her frantically getting on the phone, being like, hey, talking to her coach, being like, oh, this just changes everything. All I got to do is put a run down. My heart goes out to Astrid. She is so lovely, and she's such an amazing skier and such a competitor, that I can't even imagine how she's feeling about that happening.
That was so sad. It was so sad. And my take on it, I mean, she turned too early. And I think maybe it was the nerves. Maybe she was feeling a lot of pressure beforehand. She wanted to win the title. And that was, there's no other way to put it. That was a mistake. That was not something that couldn't be avoided, like a bell hitting the rocks. Because Jenna skied through there fine right before her, and Justine skied through there fine right after her. That rock was completely visible from above, and you needed to just put your skis in the fall line for a sec, commit to that little bit of extra speed, and then turn below the rock. And she turned right into it, straight into it. And so I think that contributed to the heartbreak, the sadness of, like, if it happens to you in an unavoidable way where you just hit a rock that was under the powder that you couldn't see, that's hard to swallow. But when you do it, like, essentially to yourself, that's way harder to swallow, because that was avoidable, 100% avoidable, and absolutely brutal. Like you said, I mean, the emotion at the bottom, she was just completely devastated,
This-
and
this-
rightly
this-
so.
Yeah.
Rightly so. That was awful. It was so hard to watch. It was so sad. We all wanted the, you know, the full fist fight of Freeride at the at its best, at its most dramatic. And that was just, it was sad. It was really, really brutal. And this sport gives and this sport takes away. You know, we always talk about it with the juniors, glory and heartbreak. And for everybody that's jumping around and cheering, there's somebody that's just completely emotionally ruined from the same day, and you know, a slightly different experience. Well, not slightly different.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know what you got. So it's
Yeah.
the highs and the lows, and sometimes they're ultra high, and sometimes they're really really low. So, you know, I hope that she's able to get past it, learn from it, and then come back hungry and angry.
I'm not a betting person, but I would bet on it. I would. You know, Astrid is so good, and she's resilient. You know, she's going to learn. She's going to pull the lessons that are there to take eventually. Like, you got to wait. You got to let the sting, you know, soften a little bit of how hard that was to live through. And she'll be back. Like, Astrid, first of all, she's young, and she's so good at this. So I have no worries that we will see Astrid on top again.
Very, very likely a future champion in the Freeride World Tour.
Yeah,
in my
for
opinion.
sure. Yep, I believe it.
Absolutely. All right. So, overall standings for ski women.
Overall standings: Justine Dufour-Lapointe, Canada on top, second title. Interesting.
Of the day for Canada.
Yeah, unreal.
Elbows up.
Exactly. Unreal year for the Maple Leaf at the end with two world titles. And interesting to me, at the start of the season, there were 3 Freeride World Tour champions in the ski women's field, and 2 of them didn't make the cut, and 1 of them got another title. So yeah, big shakeup, changing in the guard, if you will. And then Jenna Keller jumps up to second overall, just behind Justine with the win in Verbier, and Astrid slides from second down to third. Lena Kohler in fourth. Great rookie season for her. She'll be back. And you know, the thing I like about Lena is she charges. Once she gets like a little bit of understanding of speed management, I think she could be pretty deadly at this. So yeah, ski women is in a great place, and I can't wait to see, you know, who qualifies in from Region 2. And you know, we've got the women coming up from Region 1 that's already done. So yeah, it's super exciting time for ski women, and I can't wait to see them.
Super exciting. And with this crew that we have in, you know, Molly was doing some Molly things. She got her first win this year. We saw Lily Bradley hucking their meat this year, like attempting massive backflips, like they stepped up their level this year, in my opinion. So I'm looking to see what they can do for next year as well. Let's get into the BACKSLAP, because it kind of connects with what we were just talking about a little bit. So those of you that are new to the show, the BACKSLAP is the BACKSLAP line, or the BACKSLAP is if we backslap on a take, this is your opportunity to call us out. If you love this show and you just want to tell us how much you enjoy it, which we very much love, it helps us feel better about ourselves. You can give us a slap on the back. Send us an email to backslap@freerideguidepodcast.com. Now, we had 2 this week for the same topic. And it says, so here the first one is from the Water Rabbit. It says, "Hey guys, thanks for the great coverage. Couple things. Can you talk about the interview Lily gave after their epic run on Saturday? Do they need a little media training, or do you think that's what makes them so compelling and adorable?" And part 2 of this is, please, could you please make a tiny bit more effort not to misgender them? So that's the first one, and I want to carry on to the second one before we get into them. "Hey guys, love the podcast, and the depth of info you give really fills the gap in between comps. I've just been listening to the Fever Run recap, and one thing that makes it tricky to listen to is how frequently Lily Bradley's pronouns are wrong. It feels like it's pretty easy to use they, them. They have a t-shirt, and it's just a real bummer when they're wrong really consistently. Honestly, both on podcast and live commentary. So I know it can take some time to adjust to pronoun changes, but it's been 3 years now, ! Thank you for all your work on the pod. Cheers, Rosemary. So I'm gonna let's address that bit first, and we'll get to the fun part second. So thanks for that. Obviously, if 2 people sent in an email, then obviously I need to do better. So I went back and listened to the Feberburn comp. I think that we got both these emails from, and I will say it's on me. It's not on you. Derek, I think you had a couple she's, but then you corrected yourself to a they really quickly. And some of you listening to this be like, well, what's the point? Some people, I just want to give respect to everybody, right? Lily is an awesome human being. And if people are sending in this information, I want to at least address it. So Derek, you're way better than it. I listened back to it and I was like, oh, this isn't so bad. And then I listened more to where we were talking about their unreal performance. And I blew it. I wasn't even thinking about it. I was thinking about the comp, that sort of thing. This is the only person in my life where I have to think about those things. So I could do a better job. Can I do a better job? Absolutely. And I'll work on that. Within and I'm going to speak for you from my point of view of what I watch on the broadcast. I think you guys do a pretty good job on the broadcast. I will say, when you only have that one person in your life that you got to make that adjustment for, sometimes it's hard, specifically when you're in the middle of a broadcast, when you're thinking about a million things at once, it can be tough. But I do know, and we've had these conversations many times, how hard you work on it, how hard Hadley works on it. So that's how I see it from you guys. What's your thought on that, Derek?
It's a matter of effort. Last year at the Verbier restage, the Bakira restage in Verbier, Lily told Anna and I that they had changed pronouns an hour before the comp, and then laughed their ass off when I said, "Could you not have given us a heads up?" And they were like, "Yeah, you're gonna blow at us for sure." One thing that I really appreciate about Lily is they want effort. They're not concerned about perfection. And I'm going to speak for Hadley and I. We didn't get it right every time this year, but we got it right every time in Verbier. And I was proud of that. And Lily was so stoked. They were like, "You did it! You finally did it!"
I wonder if it's some cruel game she's playing on you guys.
No, not at all. No,
I know.
See, you just blew it again.
Yeah. Oh, I totally did. See,
yeah.
And this is what I was trying to say. It's not like we're not trying. When you get into the middle of a conversation and it's just, it's unnatural. Anyway. It's unnatural for me at this point. I haven't gotten to a point where it's normal for me yet.
Yep.
Right. So
and that's going to come. It's going to come with repetition and use and comfort. And that's on us to apply the level of effort that it shows respect. And
I will say, actually, on this podcast before, we've actually called each other out on it, and I've had to edit it out for whatever reason. We didn't catch it in the Fever Run episode. I didn't for whatever. So,
anyway, thank you for writing those emails. Keep us honest, keep us accountable for the words that come out of our mouths. And one thing that I'm sure of is we're going to have another whole season of watching Lily absolutely send it.
Oh, I'm excited. After watching them this year, like starting to throw those massive backflips and really pushing their limits, I'm excited to see what they can do for this year. In addition to what you were saying, with her bringing it up last year, and then just wanting the effort, not perfection. I actually had a really fantastic conversation with Lily last year on the Low Pressure podcast, where we talk about everything that's involved in that, how they feel as a person, why they've come to want to be identified in such way, how that affects them, how the ski industry and how their place in the ski industry affects them. Really, really neat conversation. One that I learned a lot from, when I think about often. So I'm going to put that link in the show notes of the YouTube channel and of the podcast. And if you want to learn more about them and listen to our conversation, I highly suggest it. I went back and listened to it again after we got these emails. So thank you to the Water Rabbit, and thank you to Rosemary for sending that in. Now let's get to the fun part. Can you talk about the interview Lily gave after their epic run on Saturday? Do they need a little media training, or do you think that what makes them so compelling? And
No, that was magic. That was absolutely hilarious. And I have a little bit of context. So
let's just make sure, if those of you hadn't seen it, a lot of F-bombs, a lot of authenticity, a lot of personality.
Yeah, all of those things for sure.
Which is actually normal. It's not the first time that's come across from a Lily interview.
So a few things coming into that event. Lily was dead set that they weren't going to make the cut. They said, like, this is my last FWT comp. I won't be making the cut. I've crashed in every event, and like, cool. See ya.
Peace out. Yeah.
Yeah. And then they put that run down, and let's give that run the credit it deserves, because Nadine Wallner had put the gauntlet down for the whole ski women's field. And then, like, I don't know, from my seat, I was like, well, that's probably going to win. And then Lily stepped it up another notch with just speed and intensity and bigger airs above, and won the comp. And in the competition winner interview, I had the good fortune to tell them that they, with that win, had made the cut.
Yeah.
And that was the reaction, like, go fuck yourself. It was so epic. It was so like in the moment. And I've, over the years, I've got a couple of finish line interviews that really stick in my memory as just as like notable or enjoyable or hilarious, and that was like jumped over all of them to my all-time favorite ever. And maybe if we go to the Olympics with this sport, media training will be required. But in my opinion, keep the free and free ride. And that was one of the most free ride things ever. That answer, that reaction, the whole thing about it, I loved it. And I thought it was, like you said earlier, Mark, authentic. Like, it's who they are. And the reaction couldn't have been more real, right? Couldn't have been more real. It was the realest of real. So I dug it, and I thought it was, I'm not taking it personally, like, it was too funny and so, like, just whatever's in the head is coming out the mouth in the moment, and I like that. I like that a lot.
Awesome. All right. Well, thanks so much for sending in the emails. We backslapped, but that was fun. That's the whole point of this. We want you guys to give us your feedback. We love hearing from it, good and bad, because it makes us better, and it's fun to talk about. So send your emails to backslap@freerideguidepodcast.com. We're going to be doing a full season recap where we'll kind of highlight some of the things that we liked and didn't like, just kind of summarize all the 6 events. That'll be coming up soon. So if you have something that you want us to talk about, something that you have been thinking about with regards to the tour, with a certain event, with a certain, with anything really, please send it to us, because we'd love to talk about it. We want to hear what you guys think and get you involved. So that's backslap@freerideguidepodcast.com. So moving on, we got one more category to go. Snowboard women. Big shocker, Naomi Aki on the on the top step. Wow. I'll get to her in a minute. Michaela in 83.33, and Nuria in 3rd spot with a 74. So not a surprise. Noemi had such a great run. Just is it safe to say it's a classic Noemi run now? Like, she's a rookie, but this is what we've come to expect from this entire season. She came in looking like a clone of Marianne Erty. We said that, that Marianne is like a mentor to her. She even mentioned during one of the media clips that, she looks up to Marianne, and this is, what I strive to be like. Obviously, I'm paraphrasing. But she couldn't look more suited for this, in my opinion. Like, she's a little Marianne clone, like, so solid.
There's two aspects to me that define the riding and define exactly what you just said. And that's the intensity, that like the speed that she rides with, and she doesn't skip features. If it's available, she'll find a way to hit it. And holding pace while doing that. I mean, it was the hallmark of Marianne's riding too. If the second place snowboard women did 4 cliffs, Marianne did 6, and at a higher speed the entire run, right out of the gate. This is a judge sport. I mean, judges are people. They're people watching other people snowboard. So if you can get them excited from the moment you push out of that start gate, that's going to be good, right? It's going to do well. And if you can get them excited and keep them excited for the whole run, then you're going to win 4 out of 6 comps this year and come second in the 5th one. Like, she's throwing away a second in her overall score line. It's incredible. It is incredible.
And that was the event that she lost to Marianne.
Yeah.
Right? That's the event Marianne came as a wild card.
Yep.
And was like, all right, I'm still the queen.
But I love it. I love seeing this riding, and it's been good for Michaela and it's been good for Nuria to have this bar to chase. And, Michaela, like another one, like Cody, like Liam, like Jenna, peaking at the right time. Started the season off, crash, like, oh no, like this is tough. Then win, second. Michaela's brought it up. And take Noemi out of the equation, her run was awesome. Michaela's run was really, really strong.
Yeah, I agree.
I think maybe her best run of the year.
I think, sorry to interrupt you, but like super technical and drop. I just want to get this right away because I have it written down. I've been looking at this for ages. She went to go for that 360. It was more like a 270 or a 290 just off that little wind lip.
Mm-hmm.
If she comes around and gets a little bit more pop and lands it, is she right there with Naomi?
Maybe. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say, and I really struggle a little bit with the start 2, start 1, start 2, start 3 contrast, because start 3, where Noemi was, just objectively steeper. It's a harder place to ride down, but the snow is more consistent. It was just that firm wind buff snow. You leave a track, but you don't really punch in. And then the double that she did at the bottom was pretty full on, and she didn't even do the slightest bit of speed check in the middle patch. So I don't know. I kind of think no. That's my instinct. I'm not a judge, but I've watched enough of this to have at least ideas, and they're just my opinions. You can send us a BACKSLAP email if you don't like it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think just the intensity of Noemi's run and the difficulty and exposure and steepness and the number of features that she hit, I think she might have still held it. Unless Michaela boosted that 3, but it was hard to hold speed there.
Right. A question for you. So specific features get scored higher. Specific tricks get scored higher or lower. What about start gates? Like, there's 3 different start gates and there's 3 different line choices. You get line choices, one of the 5 categories of the judging. So is 1, 2, or 3 start you off with a higher potential?
No.
And I don't mean like, obviously.
No, I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
It's not officially, but is it though?
You're pushing out of the gate on 50 points, wherever you start from. And then what you do with it from there. Now, are there more scoring opportunities available in one start gate than another?
Right.
Potentially, yes.
Right.
Um,
Maybe
but
that's more of what I was kind of focusing on.
yeah,
Is
but
that,
let's look at the other side of that, because we only have to bump down to third place to see a rider who dropped out of start 3, the steep, gnarly zone. But Michaela, from where she started from, still beat Nuria, because what she did from that start, the judges, deemed was a better run. It had so there may be more scoring potential from one start to another, but it's about what you do with it. It's about what you do with that potential. And Noemi did everything with it. And Michaela, I mean, yeah, maybe if she pumped that 3 over the wind lip, maybe they would have scored that higher, and she would have beat Noemi. The scores weren't super far apart. Both really good scores, both really clean runs, both committed. Fall line, lots of features. Like it was a good comp on the snowboard women's side, like in terms of just the riding. Because Nuria also clean, and it's easier to contrast Noemi's run and Nuria's run, at least in my opinion, because they rode the same part of the face, and Noemi hit more stuff, like just it did more features and rode faster. So that becomes a little bit easier again. And I think it's hard for the judges to do those like totally separate parts of, really like different neighborhoods.
Fully different neighborhoods. Yeah. Yeah. And then Anna Martina has had a really good run, a little butt check on her second air, but she had like 4 solid features, and she's a solid rider too. So I'm looking forward to watching her next year as well.
Yeah, Anna's good. She's really good. And she had the opposite trajectory of Michaela, where she started out really strong. She was, a couple of podiums right off the bat, and then not as much. It sort of tapered off towards the end of the season, where Michaela really rose up toward the end of the season. It's a long season with a lot of comps. Keeping your energy, your mental game, all of those things on point all the way through is one of the hard things about this sport. It's a long year. It's a lot of travel. It's physically and mentally taxing. There's a lot of pressure. Some of it's internal, some of it's external, but it's all real. So yeah, Anna Martinez is an unbelievable snowboarder. She'll be back, and I'll be surprised if she doesn't win an event next year.
Yep, I agree. So the overall for snowboard women.
Well, Noemi Key locked it down in Fieberbrunn with 1 to spare, and then did not take her foot off the gas and won in Verbier too. So really, like 42,500 points for her in the overall. Michaela Davis-Meehan coming from early in the season, where she was well below the cut, to finish second. Nuria in 4th, Anna Martinez in 5th. We'll have a few new riders on from the Challengers next year, and see who can mix it up with this squad, because this is a powerhouse field. Like every one of them has many podiums over the season. So I'm sure they're going to get to work in the gym, get to work on the airbag. If Noemi and Michaela are any indication, I think we're going to see a lot more freestyle coming at us in snowboard women as we move forward. We saw, multiple 360s over the year. Michaela's got big spins in her bag when the snow's right. So if we get the right takeoff, the right feature, the right snow conditions, I could see like a monster 3 from her. And Noemi was a French national team slopestyle rider. So we've just scratched the surface on what she's actually able to do with the tricks. So yeah, it's man, I'm already so excited.
Awesome. So that wraps up the final event of the season. We actually got 6 of them in this year, 5 to the cut, which I think is fantastic. I know that we've talked about it before, but maybe we'll save this for the next episode, and maybe the preview for next year is I want to get in touch with some of the FWT people and ask them specifically about strategy with regards to the challengers and their thoughts behind a lot of the decisions that they've made, which we've discussed a lot. So stay tuned for that. Before we get rolling here, we also have to follow up with the fun bet. We haven't followed up fully all of them. You said that you've missed several.
Oh my God. I was so bad at the fun bet this year. And maybe, I don't know. I got to just own it. I just blew it. I missed 3 events that I just didn't place my bets. And if I look back, they were all the 3 that we ran on D- days. So
Yep.
it was like we arrive, it's like, super frantic. Okay, comps happening. Anyway,
you got lots going on, and it's like, I didn't get to it. So for me, I missed one. And I think it was crucial in my results. So I missed one. I finished in the Freeride Guide Fun Bet League. I finished 8th overall. I missed one completely. I was, what am I? 700 points or so. 700? No, more than that. 1,500 points behind Georgie. What's the full name here? We got Georgie Evans 4. Congratulations, Georgie Evans 4, for winning the Freeride Guide Fun Bet League. I was about 1,500 points behind her, and I got an average of about that on most of the comps. And I don't know who I would have chosen. I missed the Georgia comp for the opposite reason you did, because I had it ready to go, but then they canceled it last minute. And then we waited a week and a half. I'm like, I'm just going to wait to see if anybody hurts themselves or if any news comes out. And then I passed out. I honestly fell asleep. I fell asleep on the couch, and I woke up and the comp had already started. And I was like, crap. So that was my bad. So Georgie Evans 4. Congratulations. We've got a Freeride Guide t-shirt for you. So please reach out. You can send a message. Actually, send an email to the BACKSLAP at freerideguidepodcast.com and get in touch with us, or through the Freeride Guide Instagram account. If you guys aren't following that, check in on that. We just like to reshare all the news from the Freeride World Tour and IFSA. So congratulations. I was really happy with how I was doing. I think I would have been able to compete for the podium. We'll see. Who knows? But it's a moot point now.
Woulda, coulda, shoulda.
Woulda, coulda, shoulda. Actually, I'll announce the top 3. We have Georgie Evans 4 in top spot. In spot number 2, we've got Quantum_Mech. Congratulations. And we have got in 3rd spot Telemarker Steve. Good for you, man. All in the 10,000 point range. So good for you. Congratulations. Thanks for playing with us. We said this last year, we'll do a better job at it this year. That's what we said last year. So hopefully we can create more of a thing around it, so we can make sure we don't forget it, or I'll just set an alarm or something. I don't know. But that was a lot of fun. The Fun Bet League. Congratulations, Georgie. Send me an email or shoot me a message through the social media accounts, or anywhere you can comment on the podcast or on the YouTube channel. Thanks everybody for tuning in. This has been a fun season of events so far. Stay tuned, because we'll have a couple more before the end of the year. Thank you to you, Derek, of course, for a great season. I know that you're always kind of running around and traveling, and you make it happen. You go out of your way to make it happen. So I appreciate you for connecting with me. Like I said, we both spent some time in doing this in hotel rooms and hallways and stairwells. And I think it's because we love it. So
yep.
Thanks for that. Thanks to Surefoot Skiing, custom ski boots like this one that I got here. My boot's got the boot heater. It's got the injected foam liners. I got a punch here. I got a punch there. For those of you who are watching on YouTube, because I got a weird foot, and they make it feel good. So thank you, Surefoot. They have 29 locations across the US, Canada, and Europe. You can visit surefoot.com to find the location nearest you and ski the Surefoot difference, especially now that it's starting to get warmer. Your boot changes in different temperatures. So you may need to do a little bit of work now that it's going to get a little bit warmer. So yeah, everybody, thanks for tuning in. BACKSLAP at freerideguidepodcast.com. Send us an email. Give us some stuff to talk about for our season summary. If you haven't yet, please follow us on the podcast app you're listening to right now. Or if you're watching, go hit that subscribe and give us a nice review. We'd appreciate you for that. Anything else you got to add there, Derek?
No, I'm just so impressed with the whole thing. There were some really difficult events this year to pull off, and the FWT crew, they just grind. They grind so hard, and really, even when from the outside the decisions look weird or odd or like what's happening, why did it always comes down to trying to make it happen for the riders, for the fans, so all of us. So yeah, big thanks to everybody who is involved at every level, from the FWT Pro Tour to the juniors, the IFSA qualifiers and challengers. There's so many people that are doing so much to make this sport work, and it doesn't happen without them. So yeah, thanks to everybody. Thanks to you, Mark, for having me, involving me in this.
But you're the first thought, man. Like I said before, it's it's too easy. When we shifted to the Freeride guide, I was like, we pulled some strings. I'm like, I gotta make sure Derek's involved because it's just too easy. It's too easy. Works well.
Yeah,
I like it. And we like you guys for listening. So thanks so much, everybody. We appreciate all your support. Like I said, follow, do all those things. Tell your friends if you're a Freeride fan. This is the show for you. It's the only show that does it. And we're gonna continue. So thanks, everybody. We will talk to you sooner than you think with the full season recap. We might do a Challenger recap. There's a good chance we'll be doing some stuff for Natural Selection Ski. So stay tuned, and we'll talk to you sooner than you think.
Thank you.
This has been a Redmark Media production.